Hello, my friend. As I promised, I'm here to paint the wreath you chose on Instagram. I asked you to help me choose one from the 5 wreath versions I made after we learned how to paint 7 autumn prompts. If you haven't watched that video yet, you can check it out. It's full of easy step-by-step tutorials on how to paint all 7 autumn elements. Once you've seen that, painting this wreath or any other one will feel much easier. I painted some traditional wreath and 2 that are a little different, just to give you variety and maybe inspire you to try your own ideas too. This is the wreath you chose. As you can see, it's not the traditional type with leaves forming a circle around one single line. This one is made of 2 circles, one inside the other, to create a donut shape that will fill with the autumn elements we already learned. The result will be a modern minimalist autumn wreath, and I think you'll love how elegant and simple it looks. We'll be painting all 7 elements: the leaf, the acorn, the branch, the berries, the mushroom, the pine cone, and of course, the pumpkin. What brushes do we need? Whatever you have. Most beginners only have a few round brushes, maybe 2 or 3 sizes, and that's perfectly fine. Even if you only have one, you'll be totally okay. I'll be using a few different brushes, but just so you can see how certain brush shapes make some strokes easier to achieve. So, let's begin by finding the center of our page. I'm using watercolor paper. It doesn't have to be top quality or 100% cotton. The main goal here is to create our autumn elements with easy, relaxed strokes, not to worry about technique. We are here to relax, to have fun, so let's paint together. If you have a compass, you can use that to draw your 2 circles. If not, just look around your home. Grab 2 round items like a cup and a bowl. I'll be using my compass, drawing one big circle first, then drawing a smaller one inside. This donut shape will be softened a bit using a soft eraser to gently lift the graphite. In this case, we don't need to erase it completely because the autumn elements are barely touching the lines. Inside the circles, place 6 out of the 7 elements. We'll leave the branch for later. Let's mix our colors. I love starting by mixing my colors. It helps me feel ready and inspired. For orange, I mix some yellow, orange, and just a touch of violet to mute it down a bit. You'll see the colors' names on the screen. Next is red. I like mixing red with magenta because it gives me that pinkish red shade instead of a strong orange one. For yellow, I'm mixing it with a tiny bit of orange for a warm golden tone. For violet burgundy, I mix violet and purple. Then we'll need brown, and we are going to make a few tones from the same base color. I start with orange, yellow, and a deep green. It's getting there. To make it darker, I'll add a little violet and purple. Finally, green. The only green I have on my palette is quite dark, so I'll mix it with a little yellow until I get the shade I want. You can even paint the entire wreath using just 1 or 2 colors if you prefer. It's a great way to practice before investing in more materials. Just like I mentioned before, we'll create everything we need from these colors. Starting with brown, I'll make a light beige by adding water and a touch of magenta for a pinkish edge. Let's begin with the mushroom stem. You can choose whether to let it dry before painting the next color or to paint the second color while the first is still wet. I love how the colors mingle together. Don't worry if it doesn't look even. Those beautiful watercolor marks are what make your work unique. Once you add all the other details, it'll come together beautifully. Now let's paint the acorn using the same brown. I'm adding a little water to my brush before picking up the color so it's lighter. Shape it as you go. Remember, watercolor loves to flow. Using that same brown, but with even more water, we'll paint the first layer for the pinecone. Keep it light, so the next layers will add nice depth and contrast. For the leaf, I'm using yellow. If you remember from our autumn challenge, I painted the leaf with a filbert brush to get that soft rounded shapes, but this time I'll show you how to do it with just a round brush. The color isn't as vibrant as I'd like, so while it's still wet, I'll add a second coat. This isn't layering yet. Layering happens when the first coat is dry before applying the next color. That's called wet on dry. What we are doing now is wet on wet. The paper and the color are both wet, so they blend together beautifully. For the pumpkin, I'm using a cat tone brush. I love this brush for these shapes. It starts thin and curved, widen in the middle, and finish with a soft curved point. Since it's almost dry, we can add a second layer. Same color, just less water, to darken some areas and create volume. While we wait for that to dry, let's use our dark brown with a filbert brush for the pinecone texture. You'll see how easily this brush makes those little pinecone scales. I'm also adding the same dark brown to the acorn cup. And the mushroom stem for a bit of shadow and volume. Using the cat tongue brush again, I'll add a few thin lines for the pumpkin stem. And maybe some curly vines, just for fun and cuteness. With our red, let's paint the berries. Vary their sizes a bit. And if you feel like your color is too strong, just dip your brush in water. That gives you those lovely soft red tones we love in loose watercolor. Using the tip of the cat tongue brush, I'll paint the branch that connects the berries. Now, with the same brown, more water, and just a tiny bit of red, I'll add a soft shadow on the pinecone. And a few details on the leaf. And yes, the mushroom spots just with the darker brown. In just a few minutes, we already have almost all the elements ready, except the branch. Remember I mentioned to paint branches with as many leaves as you'd like? That's what we're going to use now, to fill in those empty spaces in our wreath. I like starting with the branch that has the most leaves. Place them whatever you want, varying the size and curve direction to create a nice rhythm. To make it more interesting, vary the amount of water you use when picking up your green. That'll give you different tones and make your painting come alive. You can also use the colors already on your palette for more variety. Maybe a touch of that burgundy. Isn't it look lovely already? I still see a few empty spots, but I don't want to overcrowd it. So, I'll just add a few little dots here and there with the same green, leaving enough of space for our 6 main elements to really shine. And that's it! We've completed our beautiful modern autumn wreath. Tag me on social media or use the hashtag #WelcomeAutumnChallenge so we can all see your beautiful creations. If you'd like me to comment on yours, just ask. I'd love to. I often share your paintings in my stories too. With so much gratitude for you being here and watching until the end, thank you for painting with me. I can't wait to see your version of this wreath. I'll see you in the next video. And until then, keep playing.